Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, in one of the interesting topics that is mentioned in that verse is people could not harm others except for the will of Allah. And this is a very interesting topic that we need to understand in terms of satanic influences, the role of permission and will of Allah in relationship to magic and satanic influences. How is it possible that people were able to cause differences between men and women or cause difficulties through magic? And what is meant by the permission of Allah? Magic and satanic influences have been present in the world for centuries, and many individuals have used these for evil purposes. However, in Quran, however, the Quran teaches us that there is a distinct difference between the permission and will of Allah in regards to these forces. According to the ayah, the verse, Allah says there is difference between His permission and His will. The creation of man is an example of Allah's will. However, if an individual intends to do something, Allah must give permission for that thing to happen. Without His permission, that thing will not occur. And this is an interesting topic because we have spent a lot of time on the concept of attaining one's goals or New Year's resolutions. And ultimately, it comes down to the permission, or one can only act but actual result comes from Allah. This is the same aspect. Without His permission, that thing will not occur. So Allah's permission is really important in all aspects of life, and that is the case with magic as well. In regards to magic and satanic influences, they cannot harm anyone without the permission of Allah. But why would Allah permit such harm? It is because people are different and there are evil individuals on earth. If Allah teaches us how to protect ourselves from the effects of magic, such as rectifying or reciting certain prayers, specific du'as, verses of Quran, and then we ignore the teachings, we become vulnerable to the harm that could be caused by this evil effect. Allah tells us how to recite the Azkar every day, how to recite the Quran to protect ourselves every day, how to perform our Salat to protect every against all of these evil, how to recite Salawat to protect ourselves from the magic effect. But if one neglects all of these teachings and all of these reminders and all of these opportunities, and someone comes and tries to hurt us through magic, and the matter comes between the hands of Allah, Allah will tell, okay, go ahead. It's possible um, that this person did not listen to me, so he can be impacted by the ill effects of magic. Now, this is very similar to authorities or medical professionals telling people to be cautious against viruses, such as getting vaccinated and not be negligent of doing so. But if we become responsible after, like, if we are not doing this, then we become responsible for any harm that may come to us as a result. The authority in this case is Allah, who has taught us how to protect ourselves from evil forces. If we choose to neglect these teachings, we expose ourselves, and Allah may give permission for harm to come our way. The same is true for tricks of the devil, his whispers, and any other forms of misguidance he may use to lead astray. The devil, the shaitan. The devil can only misguide us with Allah's permission. But if we neglect our faith and ignore Allah's recommendations for protection, we become vulnerable to harm. And it is the same example I would like to highlight again is, like, let's say cold. We know that we shouldn't be going out in the cold weather without proper protection, because it can cause pneumonia, it can cause frostbite, it can cause so many different things. We will die. But even then, after knowing all of this, if a person decides to go out without protection, knowing that it's like really cold, it's part of the nature, and we have been given the protection by Allah, like jackets and other things. But even then, if a person decides to go out on his own or her own without that protection of warm clothes, then who's responsible for the effects of that dangerous cold that might endure. Therefore, it is important to note that permission of Allah is not the same as His will. Allah's permission is the result of our own choices and actions. If we choose to ignore His teachings and put ourselves in harm's way, we are responsible for any difficulty that might come to us. So, in conclusion, the use of magic and satanic influences, as well as their effects on individuals, is ultimately determined by the permission and will of Allah, but it is our responsibility to protect ourselves by following His teachings and recommendations. Wassalamu alaikum. We're going to continue this discussion in the next part.